All right. Welcome everyone to this coaching salon, which is all about back-of-the-napkin business planning. So I'm going to keep letting people in as I start talking here. So just a brief introduction. I know most of you, but some folks are new. Hey, Linda. Um, I'm Bridget Boudreau. I'm a master coach, and basically what I do in all the gradations of my various interests in coaching peccadillos is I help people live more connected and meaningful lives. And so this particular vein of my coaching expression is all about helping other coaches, solopreneurs, folks who are really more on the path of work as a spiritual practice or as a personal development practice, to help you continue to learn and grow about yourself and move forward in your business in a way that works. Hello, everyone. I love that you're joining. So today we're going to do something that has really helped me a lot, a little back of the napkin business planning, because I'm also all about what are the ways that we can simplify things, we can overcome our own resistance without powering through or mowing over ourselves. And also just get some clarity so that when we come back to sit at our desks, inevitably those times that we're all by ourselves and maybe the little demons are talking, we can sort of meet that energy that comes up with some compassionate, focused energy that helps us keep moving. So that's my intention for today. We're scheduled to be here for an hour and 15 minutes. So we'll be done 15 minutes after the hour, and I'll hang out for a little bit and answer any additional questions or just work with folks in terms of what comes up, because hey, Jill, my not so secret agenda here. Hey, Karen, Maureen. Okay. My not so secret agenda here is I'm going to kind of talk about a bunch of stuff first and set up this little worksheet that I made and how to use it. But my secret agenda there is that it's probably going to trigger some things for you. It may trigger overwhelm, maybe it'll trigger excitement. But it may trigger those things that come up for you when you're trying to do this stuff by yourself. And that's part of the objective, because really what I want to spend the lion's share of time, like I want to tell you how to fill out this worksheet, how to use it. We might do a little bit of that, but really what I want to do is work with as many of you as possible about all the stuff that comes up as you contemplate a blank page that says, this is what I'm going to do next. So let me see. Let me just make sure. A little bit of housekeeping. If you can stay muted unless you're sharing. I think that's it for the housekeeping, like not a lot of housekeeping. Okay. Any large omissions that I have made at this point or glaring errors, please feel free to clue me in, because I need your help. We're all here to help each other, right? Oh, that's the other thing. We're here to also do this work in community, so that so that you can see when that stuff that comes up for you is not unique to you. And also, look at this group. Look at this group of women right now, or women identifying folks. Look at this wonderful, supportive group of people. Some of them you may know, some of you may not know anybody, but let me tell you, everybody here is relentlessly on your side. And so I also want us to come and get a big scoop of that energy, a big scoop of getting to spend some quality time with people who are also on this path, because that just gives us the shot in the arm that we need as we, go forward into our week, month, year. So that's really the larger objective of these coaching salons, is to come in every month-ish. I'm going to talk about different topics, but it's all just a ruse so that we can get together in community, have something that we can kind of sink our teeth into together, but really so that we can spend time together, support each other, and get a little deeper into our healing or our journey. Okay, so let's get into it. When I first started my coaching business, when I first became a coach, but prior to that, I had a corporate marketing career. I had all kinds of corporate marketing jobs, mostly focused in the digital marketing space. But I've done a little bit of everything. I've been a C-level executive. I've been a CMO. I've been an individual contributor. I've been a consultant. I've been this, that, and the other, because I tried every damn thing before I decided to become a coach. And really it was that career, the corporate world kind of extruded me out of it. And I had to finally bite the bullet and do something different. So when I started my coaching business, I'm like, oh yeah, business planning. I know how to do that. I'll have my strategic initiatives and I'll do my forecasts and my budgets and, whatever the hell else I thought I was going to do. And I did it all. And imagine my horror when none of my financial projections turned out. I mean, it was all like magical thinking. I had no idea like how I was going to build this business and how I was going to get clients and where they were going to come from. And then what also happened is that when I inevitably fell short of my, not pie in the sky projections, it comes from that place of putting a lot of pressure on myself. I don't have the eloquent term to say that, but I would put a ton of pressure on myself that would manifest in a bunch of plans and a huge financial number. And then inevitably, when I fell short, I would hammer myself for that. And so finally I got wise and I just stopped making plans. I was like, this is not working. And I think that was a good move for a while because, at least for me, before I can transition into something new, sometimes I just have to say, I'm not doing that. And I have to completely rebel against it. So honestly, I did that for a long time. And then these last couple of years, what I started to notice is like, hey, I'm a little all over the place here. I'm a little unfocused. And then I started kind of flinging offerings against the wall, like hoping that they would stick. And I didn't like the way I felt inside. I felt ungrounded and unclear. And so I thought, okay, well, this is probably an indication that I need to bring some kind of planning back into my life, but I need to have a different relationship with it. And so I also knew that I was craving clarity and simplicity in my business because I also felt like I was just spinning tons of plates, all the time, spinning all these plates and trying to keep all the plates spinning and blah, 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 blah. And when you're creating new offerings all the time, that takes a lot of your own personal resources and energy. And then you're trying to sell them. And then that was exhausting. And so I actually went into, I joined a mastermind that I hadn't done for myself in a long time. And lo and behold, that was super helpful to what it really did was brought me back to me, that I actually crave simplicity. That I don't have to spin all these plates because all those plates were about what I thought I needed to do or what those external voices that I had internalized. It happens to all of us, they're just sort of out there in the ether. And if you're not careful, they get in there And it took me away from what was true for me. So that was my journey with kind of coming back to this very simple, and this is how I used to do it. Just, I would be like, I'm just going to do a little back of the napkin plan. And that's what always felt simplest and easiest for me. Let's see. I just want to make sure I'm making all my points. And I know that there's, as you're building your business, there's a lot of anxiety. We want to make a certain amount of money. We want to have a certain amount of impact. And those things can really get us to kind of tighten up. So I'm hoping that by doing this process together and working with what comes up, that we can help you to loosen up and get your nervous system to relax so that you can access that place of creativity in yourself. That's really where we want to come from as we're making our plans. I also know that, one piece of paper is not going to solve everything. But this is a beginning, I hope, of a beginning of maybe a new relationship between you and your business and the way you look at it and the way you plan for it. So think of it as the start of a conversation, and don't try to do it all perfectly. Okay, so what I would like to do right now is just take a minute. That was kind of an initial data dump. And just, well, let me tell you where we're going to go. So I'm going to first I want to have a little check-in with everybody. I'm going to ask a couple questions just to see where you're at right now. Then I'm going to talk about how to use the plan and some thoughts I have about business planning. And feel free to chime in if you have questions or reflections that come up as I'm sharing, or you want to put it in the chat. And if I'm missing anything in the chat, I know you all will just call my attention to it, right? I trust that you'll do that. So we'll talk about that. And then by the time we get through going through how to use all this and kind of giving you some initial ideas, we'll do kind of a co-working Q&A session. So you can start just filling in things that are coming up for you that you want to put in your plan, but also listening along as other people step into my coaching parlor and have questions or want help. And so this is intended to be a real working session, not necessarily that you'll have this all done by the end. My goal is to get you to a place where you feel like, oh yeah, I can easily finish this. No big deal on my own. Okay. Then we'll close out. It's gonna whiz by. Okay. So what I want to hear now is, I'd love to hear like what drew you to this call. What are your thoughts about your business right now? What's coming up for you as I'm talking? You can either chat it in or you can just unmute and jump in. Nothing's coming up. Everybody feels great.
I'll go.
Let's do Gose and then Teresa.
Great job with my name.
I wrote it down.
That's how you do it. I am a student at the Coaching Guild with Lisa, and she recommended you because we're all kind of getting started, and I've been posting content and trying to build my brand, and I can just tell that I feel unfocused. Like my mind, I'm a relationship coach, but I feel like I'm really all over the place. And I really want to have a system that just kind of funnels clients from like a class to individual coaching. And I want to have, coaching packages. And I feel like I have all these ambitions, but right now, I have like one client. So
Yeah.
I don't. So
yeah.
she said you were awesome for this kind of thing.
Oh, I love Lisa, and I'm so glad you joined. And how many of you on this call just 100% relate to what Gose said? Like, we're definitely going to cover actually all of what you talked about, those different areas of your business that you want to be focused on. But what I want to say specifically to you is to also give yourself that time to be a beginner and to be all over the place with your content a little bit, because we don't get to that. So I always say simplicity arises out of complexity, or maybe simplicity arises out of messiness, right? So there's this part of the program where you do need to experiment and kind of throw things out. And this woman that I follow that I highly recommend, Danielle Gardner, her thing is like the quiet marketer. And she talks about the things that you share with your people is making art. And this really helped me kind of ground back into finding my own voice, and that this is really my art form, is sharing insights with people, and how do I want to do that, and what feels creative. So I really, and I think the place that really hung me up in my early days of coaching is I put way too much pressure on myself to get all the clients right out of the gate and make that money. And I needed to be a learner, and I didn't want to be a learner, but that's where I was at. And I don't know what's true for you, but I'm just sharing what's true for me, is that there was a certain humility in that to me, of just saying like, okay, this is where I'm at. I am not 10 years down the road as a coach, and I am finding my voice, and I am learning what works, and I'm learning what I like, and I'm learning what other people like. And there's a lot to that. So I just want to really validate that it takes some time, and it will be good, Gose, as we go into the planning part, to maybe think of your experience from this place of being more of a beginner. But also, this is for everybody, and people that are familiar with my mosaic stuff know I'm super big on experimentation and really viewing what you're doing not through the lens of success or failure, but through experimentation, right? I'm going to try this thing. The other piece of that, I think I'm intending to talk about this later, but so I think 2 attitudes to adopt that are really helpful is an attitude of experimentation versus success or failure. Oh shit, I just forgot the other one. It'll come back, but it'll come back. Anyway, put a pin in it. We'll come back to it. But yeah, Gose, we're going to hang in. We're going to cover all those different areas of your business, and then we can check back in with you and see how all that's landing for you. Yes, be prepared to suck. That is definitely, there's a lot of sucking that goes on. Yes, let yourself be a beginner. Thank you guys. You guys are so good. Yeah, there was another piece, but it'll come. I actually have it in my notes, so when I find it, I'll share. All right, thank you. Let's go to Teresa.
So I am starting my business over after like an incident about a year ago. And I'm at this point after I've been in the Groove Kitchen with Bridget since October, which shameless plug here, but really phenomenal, and was like exactly what I needed. And now in this time with her, I'm at this point where all these ideas are flowing, and there's things happening that I am completely like haven't been expecting, just popping up. And as I'm rebuilding community around me, both other coaches and client wise, it's just like more and more opportunities keep presenting themselves. It's kind of crazy how old things are coming back, and it's kind of like this flood of stuff all at once, and I can barely it's just coming so fast that I can barely wrap my head around it, and I really need to put some structure to it. And I've had so many ideas, and I've been thinking, oh gosh, and mention something to someone, and they're like, oh my God, you have to do that. Let's do that. Like potential clients and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't even like slow down. So I'm doing this. I love the idea of this because I think it'll help me. The back of the napkin business plan will help me put some structure around these ideas. And, I'm really well aware of like, even though I have that initial, like, oh my God, I got to do that now. Like I'm also really good at giving myself a break now and saying, no, I'm not living that way. And that also, the validation that I got from doing Groove Kitchen and that community has been so supportive and helping me not react to all of this stuff that's coming in, but helping me really step back and say, okay, this is my journey and I'm going to do it my way. And I'm not going to rush through it. I want to do this slowly and in a way that honors myself, my business, the people I work with. So that's why I'm here.
Awesome. So one thing that will be your friend, and thank you for the shameless plug. The Groove Kitchen is my passion. So on the backside where it says monthly plans, there's this little box down here that says idea project queue. So this is where you put your ideas. So some of us, I have a bazillion ideas too. And that was part of kind of what was jerking me around. And so I think it's really important to capture those ideas and also trust that an idea that's meant to happen will not let go of you. It will come back. It may change form, and that's where sometimes sitting with it and not just letting every idea, sort of hook you in the corner of your mouth and drag you along, but just because that's coming from an anxious place, right? I better do this idea now or else it's not going to happen. It's going to go away. I know Liz Gilbert said a while ago, she talked about, I think she had a book idea, and then I want to say Ann Patchett actually wrote the book, and and her whole thing was like, well, if it's meant for you, it'll be for you. But kind of where I went with that is like, well, fuck, if I don't write this book, like somebody else, it's Ann Patchett's going to write it. So I didn't really absorb that, I think, in the way that she intended, but I think that's the kind of stuff that can get brought up. And also just being like, if you have heavy idea initiating energy and it's hard to finish up, I think having a place where you can capture your ideas and choose them consciously and wisely based on what your business needs are. It's also like, I also want to say based on what your heart and your soul want. And so there's kind of a juxtaposition there, because I always want us to lead from our souls. And I don't want you running around all over the place creating 50,000 new things. So that's the calibration that you need to do in yourself. And I think putting it in your queue and letting it marinate a little bit, and then you'll get more clarity about which ideas you want to pull up and move forward. And I'll talk a little bit more concretely about how to do that. But I actually took this piece from, I worked at a place, and this is how we decided how to develop. So it was actually classmates.com, right? So I know I was the one that sent those 27 million emails to people, like literally that was me. But one of the things that really impressed me with how they ran things is their development team had this queue of projects. And so you would propose your project, and then they showed you like how much development capacity they had at any given time. And then there was a red line, and everything else went below that red line. And every couple weeks, they would go back and see what's changed, what can come up, what goes out, what's been completed. And so it was this structured way of moving through all the ideas. And so you don't have to be that structured about it, but I do think there's a value in having your own cue and pulling things up from it as you have capacity. Let's see, let me just cover off these other, what drew me to the call. Jill's ready for a pivot in her business. Realized her attention was focused on what I no longer want to do, and I want to play with what I do want instead of just moving away from what I don't want. Awesome. Oh, you're good. You're good, Karen. Okay. So let's talk about this plan. Let's talk about the front page first. All right. So here's the first thing, like, what exactly do you put in here? Well, in some ways, who knows? It's not really about the specific things so much. It is, but it isn't. The specific things are like the intention, right? Your flaming arrow of intention that you're kind of shooting out into the dark. And that gets the action moving, right? That gets you moving. So, what you start out writing on your business plan may not be at all what you end up doing by the end of it, but it's a way to track that and continue to make conscious choices all along the way, rather than just kind of ping-ponging around, spinning your plates, feeling like you're all over the place. So, what I've been saying lately is it's hold on to your dreams or your aspirations tightly, but the form loosely. And I'll give you an example of that. So I've been trying to write this damn book about the mosaic for years now. There are people who know me know this, blah, blah. I've got like 3/4 of a book, and I couldn't get it across the finish line. And for a lot of various reasons that I consciously made, one being I couldn't focus on the book as much as I needed to finish it and keep growing my business in the way that I really needed to. So I had to make some choices. And it made me sad, but I made the decision to put it on the back burner. But what's become clear to me now is that actually what I want to do is I want to make it into a journal, and I have some other cool ideas. So it's here's this thing that's been out there, but now I feel like because of the sum total of all my other experiences, it's become clear to me, like I had this preconceived notion in my mind of how it was going to go. I was going to write the book, and then I was going to grow my audience, and then, I would get a book deal, and da, 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 da. And none of that happened that way. And so I had to grieve the idea of how I thought it was going to be. And then out of the ashes of that have come some really strong tendrils of new ideas. So that to me is how this process goes with business planning, is you start out with your best intentions, but in where you want to be. I want to have a business. I want to have an impact. I want to do something that sustains me and is meaningful and serves people. Hold on tight to that. You get to have that, but hold the form loosely. Okay, so this is the framework to help you do that. So think of this front part as like your business ecosystem. So Gose, this is kind of speaking to all those areas that you're thinking about. This is your business ecosystem. And I wanted to use like very non-marketing words because I know some of the language can be triggering for people. And I actually want you to see these activities differently than like lead generation and conversion and blah, 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 right? It is all that stuff. But what we're really talking about is, so if you do think of, like Gose was talking about, like her funnel, right? So you have at the top of your funnel of getting people to work with you and pay you money to do stuff. The top is people getting to know you. They haven't spent any money with you yet, but they need some way of getting to know you, right? And then as you start to move down the funnel, you may have people that have bought from you but aren't active with you, or people that have dropped down from the getting to know you place a little further. So for instance, my funnel, the top of my funnel looks like posting on social media, and kind of, I would say, the bridge between that very top of the funnel and the next nurturing, who are my people that I'm nurturing, is this very call, right? The coaching salon. It's like, here's a place where you can get to know me. You don't have to pay me any money. And here's a place where I can also nurture the people that are already in my world, right? So the getting to know you activities, people would talk about that as like top of the funnel, awareness, your community, right? And the ways that you might help people get to know you. You might go do lunch and learn talks. You might do, I know somebody on this call does mindful walks, although I think that might be a paid offering. But anyway, like, it's not just, it could be posting on social media. It could be hosting a meetup group. It could be hosting a Facebook group. But I want to call out that it's not just online stuff. It could be going to your Rotary Club meeting, or your, other business networking group locally. There are so many ways to have people get to know you. And I also think about this as you're planting your seeds. And when you're planting your seeds, you don't necessarily know which ones are going to grow. You just have to plant your seeds and nurture them and show up and trust that some of them are going to grow into flowers and some of them may never grow into anything. I just answered a post on my local community Facebook group and just had a new client inquiry. And I did it like a year and a half ago. And I just said, like, I'm a career coach, blah, blah, something, no big deal. And had somebody contact me yesterday who wants to work with me. So that's what I'm talking about, is you're out there planting your seeds. So that's that part of the ecosystem. How are you going to let people get to know you? And you may experiment with a lot of different ways. Yes. So the mindful hike is introductory for companies, right? Okay. The other thing I want to say to you about this is a lot of people have been told that the way to work with the top of your funnel to help people get to know you is to feed the social media beast, right? Post, post, post. Selfie, selfie, offer, call to action, right? Yes, you can do that. And yeah, it works for some people, but that is not the only way. And I would actually encourage you to not put all your eggs in the social media basket, because social media is changing. This is my editorial soapbox here. Social media is changing. And also what happens is, we are the product and we're providing the product to the company. And that product is not, so the product is our content. It's not our product, it's their product. And they want you to keep providing that. So it's ephemeral. So you have to constantly be posting. And that's what can feel really exhausting to people. So another thing that Danielle Gardner talks about that really locked it in my mind for me is thinking about discoverability versus visibility. So social media is about visibility, right? Here I am, here I am, here I am, here I am, every day, here I am, and again, there's nothing wrong with it. I do it. I like social media, but discoverability is being somewhere like on a YouTube or a Pinterest or Google, blogging, so that you're showing up on Google, on the Googles, So you're showing up on Google and you're showing up for people that are looking for the things that you do, right? So you might want to take some of that social media energy and that visibility energy and diversify it into discoverability energy, because those, your YouTube videos don't go away. Your blog posts don't go away. Those are evergreen and people can always find you. Okay. The Google. Yes, thank you. That's going to be my new discoverability platform. Get on it. Okay. So I will help people. So you got to do a little bit of getting to know people. Got to do that. And then there's the nurturing people. What are you going to do there? I send a couple emails every month. I do my coaching salon, and I love to email people. So I do a lot of personal. I really encourage, hey, send me an update. And I'm not doing it to sell. I'm doing it because I love to connect, and so I'm coming from doing what I love, what nurtures me. Some people, it's like if they had to, respond to emails, it's like they would rather shoot themselves in the foot. So I'm telling you, like, not this is my system, but this is what I've found works for me. So I have kind of 3 key things that I do to nurture people. And that's all I do. So this is the other thing. Oh, I want to jump back for a second because I need to tell you about the rule of 3. So if you do anything with me, I don't have a lot of hard and fast rules. And even this isn't really a hard and fast rule, but it kind of is. So the rule of 3, and it's very, very simple. And it's the whole idea is to save you from biting off more than you can chew. So in any of these categories at any given time, do not focus on more than 3 things. So on the front side, these are going to be your 3 general categories, right? So as I was just saying, the way that I nurture my folks, newsletter, coaching salon, personal contact, those are my 3. The ways that I help people get to know me, reels, coaching salon. And then I'm going to experiment with fleshing out my YouTube presence. So that's kind of my project for the year. So on this side, you just want to have kind of your 3 things, and you may have some mixture of things that you're already doing and new things that you're doing. But if you have a category, so again, Gose, I'm going to pick on you a little bit, but let's say Gose is very focused on like helping people get to know them. Then there may be all 3 of these things may be brand new. So don't bite off a bunch of new things in the other categories. Take it down. Like maybe I'm just doing one thing. Maybe I have one offering and I have one project and I have one nurture thing, right? So don't go crazy and start doing a bunch of projects. Like that is not the recipe for success here. Okay. And then the backside, the rule of 3 is, again, you may have like one big initiative that you're doing that may span a number of months. So let that be your big one. And then you might, number 2 and 3, January might be, number 2 might be get caught up on my bookkeeping. Number 3 is maybe I do some newsletters ahead of time, which would be revolutionary for me because I see what I kind of have coming in the later months. We'll come back to this one, but I just kind of wanted to give you a sense of what the rule of 3 looks like on the front side versus the back side. Is this all making sense for people? All right. Let's see. Okay. How you nurture people? What are your core offerings? So again, I encourage. So, Maureen, did you have a question, Maureen?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, so I'm just going to go for it. You guys don't have to see me. Anyway, Bridget, I love being here with you.
I'm
I-
so happy you're here.
I have, my question is, I have 3 ideas on how people get to know me. I have 3 ideas on my core offerings, and I have 3 ideas on how I'm going to nurture, but I just don't know where to start. They're all like, seem like big projects to me right now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, tell me what you have.
Well, the concept I'll tell you, because I had a stroke in 2016 and I want to create a stroke recovery coaching business. And I have, like Teresa was saying, I have a huge ideas about, having a YouTube presence, creating this community online. I'm reluctant to give it to Facebook, but it might be the easiest way to do it, where people can help one another and make a really rich community that way. And I just want to offer, there's so much people need. I mean, they're re-architecting their entire lives, from
Yeah.
job to career-wise, relationships, all this stuff is in turmoil in most cases. And yet technology for those right after a stroke is really hard. So a lot of people have caregivers that I think might help them at least get synced up on this stuff. So I want people to get to know me through YouTube and by going to stroke support groups and maybe volunteering at hospitals.
Hmm.
I want to create a recovery roadmap based on, every stroke is different. What damage do you have and what do you need? We'll put together a map. And then I want to share tools to make every day better and how to regulate your mood. Because something like 85% of people that get a stroke go through major depressive disorder, huge depressive. And there's a lot of stroke. And I will nurture my folks by free lunch and learns, an email newsletter. I would like to invite these people at the support groups to be part of my brain trust and use them to help me build the program. So that's kind of what I got. I see a book out of it down the road, but now I'm way ahead of myself.
But I love it because thank you for sharing. And first of all, I think you just converted a bunch of fans here that are going to help you get your work out, because what a way to help people. And so here's my suggestion. I'm going to just toss something out and you can see how it lands for you, but kind of how I would organize that work is, I think it's good to start with a Facebook group for the reason that you said, for simplicity. And then if you wanted to get fancy later, there's other options that you could look at. But again, you all, this is where you make decisions in favor of simplicity, because if Maureen starts taking on, oh, I want to look at all the community softwares out there and blah, blah, blah. Now you're doing you're in a rabbit hole and you're doing all kinds of stuff that doesn't matter.
Right. Okay. Keep it simple, stupid, right?
Keep it simple, slick, let's say. Okay. So what I would do is, if you think of it like I would say focus first on the top of your funnel is raising awareness, but you need a place kind of for people to land. So as you move down this funnel, you can always think about, I need to just create a simple landing place for people. And then I can go back up and drive people down into that landing place. And of course I said drive because I'm a marketer, but you're not going to drive anybody. Okay. So what you would do, Maureen, is you would build out your Facebook community first. And here's where I think you can also sort of meet your need for all these ideas that you have in the Facebook community, because you have tons of content ideas. So you could say, okay, everyone, this month we're going to talk about how depression, we're going to talk about depression and stroke, and then next month. So you can start funneling your content ideas into the Facebook community. So you're getting a kind of a twofer.
Right.
So now you have that happening. And then I would say, get that going first and just get people flowing into that. And then, if you wanted to work with people one-on-one, or you wanted to have a group or something, you could make a very simple offering.
Right.
And I would just pick one to start with, or you're going to do, it doesn't even have to be an offering. It could be a PDF guide that people buy, or a series of, a small mini course or something like that. But just, you're building out all the pieces. So it's like, just kind of start with one thing in each place.
Right. Okay.
And then, once you get that done, you can sort of decide what's next in the priority. Do you want to start an email newsletter? Would you rather work more on outreach? But it's like, when you have a vision and it's exciting, it can also be overwhelming. So it is about taking out these small steps. Oh, and the other thing I was going to say is, when you start, so if you do, this month is depression and stroke month, and we're going to be talking about that. Then let's say you want to do a little video for your community. Then you also put that on YouTube.
I see.
Yeah. And so, and maybe you don't focus so much on learning the ins and outs of YouTube right out of the gate, but you just kind of throw it on there, or you just know, oh, when I'm ready, I'm going to have these YouTube videos as well. So that's where you start to weave the pieces together, but you don't have to do it all at once. How's that landing for you?
And it's landing really great. I love it because it seems like doable. It's more manageable. I have a major complication in all of it, in that I'm a disability and I'm allowed to work, but I can't go back to my old corporate life because I don't have the cognitive skills to multitask like I used to. I just can't be that fast. So I'm always afraid of losing my disability. And so my instruction are always to be quiet about what I'm doing. So I might create a fictitious name or something.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm allowed to work, but I just don't want them to see, you know what I mean? It's really,
I know, and that stuff just really,
I really need
that's,
lose it is my point.
you need what?
I really need my disability. I can't lose it is my point.
Bridget,
Right.
can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
Maureen, I have a background in working with people with disabilities, so I'm assuming you have a certain amount of money that you're allowed to pull in per month. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just so people understood.
Yeah. So I think, so just start with building awareness.
Yeah.
And then for you to sort of note that you have this problem of it, it's almost like a problem statement. How do I create and grow this business and not shoot myself in the foot with my disability and keep it on the up and up and all that other stuff? And that, so you can, I would focus on the top of the funnel stuff where people aren't even paying you anything yet. And that's going to give you some runway to solve this other problem. But maybe what you do is, just off the top of my head, is you claim a certain amount of revenue and you donate the rest until you get to the place where you maybe can go off disability, or maybe that's the way you always do it, so. But the other thing is, we're trying to avoid the situation where we're trying to solve many complicated problems at the same time. Right. So it's like, first, build the Facebook community and get people going in there and experiment with that. And then give yourself the space to answer these other questions.
And I'll learn what content really resonates. I mean, you can word research, but I also get that from my audience, which is the best.
And that's the best market research. And you bring up such a great point, because that's what else. So kind of back to Gose, right? So you want to create this environment where, you are getting feedback from your people, and it can be in the form of direct, like, I love this, do more of it. But a lot of times it's in the form of likes, or it's in the form of views, or people emailing you. And so, yeah, you really want to have your market research hat on to be taking in that information as you're experimenting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love it. You've just helped me so much, Bridget. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. I just really want to encourage what you're doing. I think it's super, super great.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, so just to go through the other parts of the worksheet, what are the big business projects that you're going to do this year, right? So for me, one is I want to revamp my Mosaic course. I get 15,000 ideas. I just got a new idea for it that I think is going to be cool. Then making the journal. We'll see. I'm holding it loosely. And then what was the third one I had? Well, hell, I don't remember, but it'll come back. But that is plenty for my year. Like, I know now that those two projects are huge projects that will take a really good chunk of time. Meanwhile, I have to keep running my business in the meantime, and I need to maintain space for that. So this kind of planning also takes into account that it's going to take longer and probably be a little harder than you thought, and that's okay. All right, which leads me to, what are you not going to do this year? Right? You can put metaphorical things in here, like, I'm going to stop spinning, or I'm going to stop beating myself up, or try to do it less. You know, those are great things, but also to put actual projects in there. So, I mean, and it was interesting, like, you might have a little bit of feelings as you do this. Like, for me, just as I was listing some things out, for examples to share with you, I noticed I felt a little like, oh, am I really not going to do that? I could try to do that. I could. So you're holding all of this loosely. You know, this is all under your control. You can pull anything back in that you want to. But I just encourage you to experiment with, what am I going to, at least for now, let go of? And so mine were finishing the book. I'm not going to do a deep dive into LinkedIn posting, but then I'm like, maybe. So, but that, I'm going to put it on my list for now. And I'm also not going to focus on growing my social numbers for the sake of, like, getting a book deal, or just for the sake of growing. I'm going to really focus on connecting with people and having quality interactions and making my art. And if things grow from there, that's fantastic. I will be super happy. Okay. So that's the front side, where you start to fill in these pieces. And then, you know, and then you start to pull them through your year. What are you going to focus on? Now, I would say my other suggestion for the back here is, don't do more than 3 months at a time. Because isn't that the way we inevitably do it anyway? I mean, whenever I've done planning, like, my first quarter is like packed with stuff, and then it starts getting a little vague as I move further along. And so what I've done is just start to accept that and do a quarter at a time. Oh, thanks for joining, Lisa. Okay, so that's my overview. I've said a lot, and I would love to hear from anyone else, like, what's coming up for you? How can I help? And also, just, this is the time to just start jotting down any ideas that you have for your own business. So we'll kind of talk and work together here. So who has, Julika.
Hi.
Hi.
Talk to me about the size of projects. One big project, two smaller projects. Can you give me examples of that? What does that mean?
I can give you examples, but I think it's also up to you to define. Let me think. Okay, so This month, I'm going to say my two smaller projects were, one was setting up this coaching salon. And the second one will be getting my February group kitchen all set, because they're smaller, because I've done them before now. So I have templates and I have, a bunch of the pieces in place. The bigger project which is going to span multiple months, is to start to get my head around this revamp of my course that I'm going to do, because I'm starting from really from scratch. Not from scratch, like I have a lot of the content, but it's packaging it very differently. And so I'm inventing something new. So that's going to span multiple months, and I'm not even quite sure yet when I can launch it. So I'm going to need to get into it before I can give myself kind of a good timeline for, okay, this is going to take 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. I don't know. Does that help?
Yes, yes. What I'm hearing you say is the size of the project is proportionate to the number of hours it's going to take from you, not necessarily the size of the impact of the project, or, something that
Yes.
you can do quickly might reach a lot of people, but it's still a small project. I got you. Thanks.
Yep. I think that's a really good distinction. This is about your time and energy versus the impact. Yeah. Barb, how about you?
Hey, thank you. This is
Hey.
great. I'm curious about the numbering on the idea/project queue.
What did I do? Oh,
Does that have meaning?
I think it had meaning when I did it, but
Okay.
that's a really good point. I will say that had meaning when I think I was maybe I was trying to do quarters, but I only did 3.
Okay.
Looks like a parking lot for other ideas.
It is, but the way I numbered it was like, yeah, I think maybe I intended to do quarters and I didn't quite carry that through. But
Right.
I'm going to revise myself and just say, make it your parking lot.
Yeah. I wonder if bullets would be just bullet points might be, because
Yes.
otherwise I want to prioritize, and then I'm starting to get complicated.
Yeah. I mean, you can do like a little bit of prioritization.
Uh-huh.
I don't think that necessarily hurts.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think just some bullets down there.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
You guys have to keep an eye on me, because I will go rogue on myself. Lindsay.
Hey, so I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the I will help people get to know me by, and the I will nurture my folks by, because as I was reading these before you started talking about them, I think I was thinking about them differently, and yeah, and then you were talking about discoverability and visibility, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. So this isn't a very pointed question, but could you say more?
Yeah. So I think what you're pointing to is they can get a little fuzzy between the two, but what I'm really thinking of is that how I'm going to have people get to know me is the very top of the funnel. So it's people that don't know me. So I'm going to go, it's putting myself out there beyond my current network. Although it can be posting to social media, right? But I'm trying to reach new people. So these are my attempts to reach new people in the way that I like to think about that is, why do I want to reach new people? Well, so they can get to know me. So what's really helped me, oh, it's so good to see you, Linda. What really helped me with this is to think about, because I was kind of just throwing things out there, I'll do memes, I'll do this, I'll do that. And I was like, but my goal here is I want people to have a sense of what it's like to work with me or who I am as a person, you know, it's like dating, right? Like, how can I get people to get to know me? So it starts to fuzz in with the next layer, which is, how do I nurture the people that are already in my orbit? But I think of like the difference is getting to know me is the YouTube videos, which would be discoverability. It is for me, it's posting on social media, it's going to these local events that I'm going to, right? So it's the top of putting myself out there, and then nurturing folks that already have a connection to me. So like, for instance, the transition is people come to this coaching salon, but then they share their email address with me. And then what I want to do ongoing to start to build a relationship with them is I want to send emails that like deliver value, give them more of a sense of who I am and what they can expect from this world. So to me, email can be a big piece of that middle layer. Or like if you're hosting a Facebook group, right? Like Maureen was talking about, she's going to nurture that community by doing all kinds of things. You know, she might do Facebook Live, she might do themed posts, you know, whatever it is. And then for me, also those personal connections. So when people email me, I try to get back to them really promptly. I'm really open to answering people's questions, because that's another way that I like to get to know people. Does that help? Or I'm sorry, nurture people. I say it like it helps if I use the consistent language. Yeah. So what do you think? Like, what's it bringing up for you, or where are you feeling unclear?
I think the getting in front of new people stuff. Because I think the first thing that I will help people get to know me, my welcome sequence is due for a revamp, re-existence. But what's coming up for me now is that I had put that under, I'll help people get to know me, because I was thinking about that like there's a conversation happening, but I think that actually needs to go. Maybe it still is in that bucket, but there needs to be another thing before that where, how does that?
Yeah, how are people
things
going
get
to
activated? Right.
get to where that welcome sequence is being activated, so that, you know, there's definitely a bridge between these two, right? So a welcome sequence is a great bridge between getting to know me and nurture.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you will want to think about like, how am I going to get people on this list? And that was also another reason why I did something like this. You know, people do lead generation or PDFs and free downloads and stuff, and all of that stuff is great to do. But for me, I was like, well, and this is where you have to experiment a little bit and even look around and see what people are doing, because I didn't really want to do a freebie. I might do one in the future to like grow my email list, but I wanted to do this. It's like, I want to get people together, and guess what? In the process of signing up for this, people give me their email addresses and my list grows, you know? So this is technically a list growth strategy too, but it's coming from this place of doing what I want to do. And it's checking kind of, so the other thing that you'll start to see is when you do one thing, it can check a number of boxes too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
helpful. Thank you. Yeah, because I've got this, the other thing that was coming up was I have this podcast idea, not just idea, it's kind of in the works. But I was thinking of that actually as a way to nurture folks, because it's the thing. I've never had a real consistent newsletter, but I think this is a thing that I could send like, hey, this is this week. Hey.
Well, and that could check both those boxes, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But it might be slightly different project focus. Like one is the creating and the sending consistently, and the other one is some way of promoting that.
yeah, podcasts have both functions in them because of how they're distributed, you know, so they have some discoverability to them. But then, yeah, you might want to put like your podcast on YouTube so people are finding it that way. You know, there might be a few other things that you want to try to just get your podcast in front of more people, getting interviewed on other podcasts and promoting it, you know, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Questions, comments, anything coming up? Karen.
Hi,
Hi.
this feels like a really silly question.
Oh, I
but I'm
love
gonna
silly
answer it
questions.
Anyway, what I'm not going to do, is this meant to be like really specific, like things that I've got a list of like 6 projects ideally that I would like to do. Am I meant to kind of like siphon out and choose the ones I'm not going to do? Or is it, I don't know, things that distract us that we know that we should put there? I mean, what would you put there?
They can be both. So like I was saying, they can be more socio-emotional habit things. I'm going to try not to, I'm going to adopt, I'm not going to view every single thing I do through the lens of success and failure, right? That's been a big one for me. I'm not going to try to immediately implement every idea that I have would be mine. But then I have specific things that I'm also at least probably not going to do. I might change my mind, and I reserve the right to change my mind. But it's sort of like, I think the difference is between the project queue on the backside of the sheet. So if you have like 6 things that you conceivably want to get done this year, I would use that box and then use the I'm not going to do, you know, you might, I'm not going to be on my phone as much because I want the space to do these 6 projects, you know. That so you might use the cue as the enticement for the what you're not going to do to create that space.
Yeah, that makes sense. I thought it might have to be specific like projects or actions, but actually things that are habits and mindset issues like phones are a big thing for me. I've just set up lots of screen time limits and put my phone on grayscale during the day, and lots of little techniques to stop me from, oh my God, the grayscale thing works so well. I'm like a kid in a sweet shop with it normally, and then I put it on grayscale and I'm like, oh, I can't really focus. None of it makes sense. I can't play with it anymore. My eldest son taught me how to do that, and it's just transformed my addiction.
Oh, that's a good tip. Yeah. It can be either specific actions. I know for me, I put that there just because I can really fall for shiny object syndrome. And so it's about having the discipline to say, okay, that's a nice idea. I'm not doing that right now. You know, I am focusing here. So whichever it's whatever serves you.
I think writing in it, not doing 2 things at the same time might serve me very well, because that for sure is a habit that doesn't get me going very far.
I mean, really for anything, but especially these deep project pieces, you know, that's why I'm really encouraged, you know, pick one that is gonna really take up some bandwidth, and then the other couple things just have to be more kind of keeping everything going, you know, because you really just can only do so much, and you'll get a sense of what your capacity is. And the other thing is like, hey, if you're crushing it and you knock something out and you have more capacity, great, pull something else in. Like it's all up to you. But this is just the way to kind of avoid loading everything up, right? It has to be done right now. Yeah.
And it works really well. I was attracted to this because of the 3s, because it's just the minute you have a massive, great big project list, it's just naturally becomes overwhelming. But when you just pick, I've done it myself before. I said, right, you're not even looking at that. Pick 3. And if you get 3 things done today, that's amazing. If you want to do more, you can, but you don't have to. And then the sense of relief is just huge. It makes such a difference to psychologically present yourself with less to bite off and chew. And then you end up chewing more and having more energy for it, you know?
Yeah, we're basically treating ourselves like toddlers as we should.
Yeah, it's on the brain.
If
Yeah.
you eat these 3, you can have more. That's it. Thank you, Karen. Maureen.
How do you, sorry, how do you move perfection aside? So the bane of existence for the past year has been, I have to do a business plan, and the ones online, are really thorough, like a SWOT analysis, and where you're going to get your money, what's your pricing going to be, all that stuff, or like my temptation is to say, this isn't done because I haven't done it completely. How do you get
Well,
around?
that's a whole other coaching salon, but let me just tell you that, letting this be enough. And also, like, those business plans are about, like, are you going to pitch to venture capital? Are you going, that's why back of the napkin, the other transition I had to make when I came out of corporate and I was creating my own business, it was like, we would throw $10,000 at a website or $100,000 at something, and it was like, well, looks like I'm going to be doing this myself, right? Because there's not. So this to me is more about focusing your time and energy on what matters, and the revenue piece that you might want to do specifically is like, okay, I get this much disability. I want to understand what the government says, like how much more can I earn over that?
Yeah.
And then how am I, going to kind of throttle that revenue so that I don't lose my disability? Like, that's your revenue plan.
Right. I see. Yeah. It's really important. Gotcha.
Yeah. So the perfectionism does come up. And one of the things is just to practice with it and let things be done, and just sort of be on to yourself when the perfectionism is coming up. And I find content creation is a really good way to sort of lovingly work with your perfectionism. So I make these reels, and I could get into recording 13,000 copies but I just try to think of, like, what are my key bullets? I'm going to take my best shot. And I try not to do them over and over again. And so it's just, are there these places that we can work with our own perfectionism and really just try to ship stuff, and let it be done. But when the perfectionism does come up, meet yourself with compassion, right? Because when we're doing these things that are so personal to us and that matter, that's going to come up, So the best kind of quick tip I have for that is just being like, oh, of course, here comes my perfection, because I want everything to be perfect and I want to do it right the first time. And it makes sense because you can look back over your past and see how you came by that honestly.
Right.
Yeah.
Another
And
reason,
to-
great, Bridget, that the group thinking is so helpful. Teresa mentioned occurs to me that perfection issue could come up for your clients too. And that's such a point, Teresa. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So it's like the more work that you do, and all of this is an invitation into your own work. So the more work that you do, the better that you can show up for your people.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. Thank you.
All right. Well, we're at time here and I know people need to jump off. And I just wanted to quickly say, I'm going to email it, but I do have a little special coaching offer for you all. So if you want to do your own 90 minutes with me, I've got that at a little special price. So I'll be sending that out. And I really mean it. Feel free to email me with how your planning is coming along. If you have any additional questions, I would love to be able to help you with that. And I am so appreciative that you took the time to join me here live today. Yeah.
Thank you for doing it, Bridget.
Oh, my pleasure. And I will hang out a little bit past our time here to answer any more questions or just to help out. I've got a few more minutes, but I want to let people go that need to move on with their day.
Thank you, Bridget. This was really wonderful.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Thank you, Bridget. I have to go
Yeah.
too.
All
Bye.
right. All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. All right. Looks like everybody's kind of fading out here. All right. All right. I'm gonna go. It's so good to
I just
see you,
wanted to say
Lindsay.
hi.
Yeah. How have you been? Oh, wait, let me
Good.
turn off the recording.